next. This is the
Oh,
13th.
this-
Good evening.
Oh, okay, then I was right.
Yeah.
Welcome to What's New. We have quite a showing here tonight. We have some lovely people here tonight, and I'm Mary Ann Roth. This is Iris Vinson and Jean
Henson.
Henson. Excuse me.
I'll answer.
So we will start the program with Iris introducing.
Okay. We have Sarah Menard, and she's going to be talking about the Foundation for Restoration. We have,
Do we have the children first?
and we have, now I forgot your.
My
oh,
friend Sarah Drost is over there.
Golly, Sarah Drost.
Sarah Drost
and
is
her,
over there.
Yes,
Yeah.
and her kids that are from speech.
And she's got a couple of
Yes,
youngsters
couple
with her.
age groups over there, yes. So I think you guys are going to perform first? Okay. So if you guys want, when you stand up to do your part, say who you are,
Yes.
your name, and then you can, one of you guys can say what you're going to do, or else Sarah can, either or.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can stand, well, you know where you're going to stand. So the microphone can pick you up, and talk pretty loud. Okay. I'm sure you'll do great. Yeah.
My name is Drake Meyer. My name is Grayson McGowan. Today we have a speech entitled Batman the Real Story Begins by Robert L. Crow. Young man, you have been living here at Wayne Manor for some time now. The courts have made you my ward, and I think it's time we alter our relationship. You no longer have to refer to me as the ward boss. You may now call me Uncle Bruce.
Holy name calling. That'd be swell. And you can call me Richard of Gotham.
I'll call you Dick.
That'll work too.
Dick, I need to talk with you. I had another problem.
Is it the internet? I got on that site completely by accident.
No, not that. What do you know about crime?
Two things, Uncle Bruce. First, crime does not pay. And second, I didn't do it and I have an alibi.
I'm not talking about something that you've done.
Good.
I'm talking about the crime wave that is going through Gotham City. The streets are now safe for women and children and babies and pets and others. This evil has to stop. We must do our part.
I'll stay in my room.
Just pow and bam! Put those criminals in a cage they belong. I need some help. I would like you to join me.
It sounds a little dangerous. I mean, the criminals will know where we live. No one would be safe in my own room.
When we go to Socko the lawbreakers, I think it's best that we dress up in some costumes that nobody recognizes. For example, I'm going to wear this.
It looks like a black bed sheet.
It's a cape.
Good idea. So we can fly like Superman.
No. This is a non-flying cape. I can't fly, but I can do this. My sudden arrival will frighten evildoers.
Holy rival. The bad guys will say, look, there's Bruce Wayne. Run.
They won't know who I am because I'll wear this. I will dress in this menacing bat costume and you will be my cohort.
Do I get a costume too?
Of course, we'll be a team. You will be a bird and
I know. I'll be American Eagle. I'll have a headpiece with a beak as sharp as razors, as a slash and gash through walls and speeding cars. And it should be called Avenging Eagle.
no.
American Eagle?
No.
Super Eagle.
No. Robin.
I mean, the little orange breast bird.
Yes.
Shrek and Fear that hides the worms.
Okay, we start you as a Robin, and if things go well, we can change your persona. Now here's your costume.
I don't get a headpiece. I get a Lone Ranger mask. And all my friends will see me in tights.
Okay, we do most work at night, so we won't be identified. And here's another thing. We will register with the police department, so that when they need some help, they will shot a spotlight, a bat signal, into the sky to summon us from the Batcave.
Holy sunshine. That would be hard to see in the daytime. Good thinking. But how do we get around?
Oh, I'm working on that in secret. Follow me.
Holy swinging library, a secret door. It's so dark and narrow. It's so dark.
I'll fix that. I like this gas lantern.
Kaboom, look at that. It's a green Hornetmobile.
It's the Batmobile.
What a chick magnet. Can I take it for a drive?
No, but you can sit in it.
Holy light sockets. This dashboard has everything.
Yes, but just be sure that you
What's
don't
this blue one?
push.
Holy tonic bomb. What was that?
It was a heat-seeking missile.
They're very efficient, aren't they? Sure took out that lantern and the wall.
Well, that solved the problem of how to get the Batmobile out of the basement. Alfalfa for cleanup tomorrow with a bat bulldozer. Follow me.
Oh, I have another question.
Yes?
Who do we go after first?
Oh, our first cool customer is the penguin.
Well, it's black and white, and black and white. A penguin rolling down a hill.
You are quite the joker. Sometimes I wonder about you, boy.
I'm good at the riddles, too.
Another time. Are we ready to fight crime?
I think we're missing one other part.
Oh?
What if the criminal is a female or hides out in the ladies' room? We can't go in those places. So here's my idea. We need a female member on our team. Someone fearless and athletic and about my age.
You mean like a bat girl?
I was thinking more like a sparrow.
I think I see where you're going. And that is?
Where?
To your room. I'll call you when it's dark outside.
No sparrow?
Not even a chickadee.
Holy dash dreams. Crime fighting could have been a lot more fun.
Thank you.
Oh, that was great.
Okay, Sarah is the volunteer speech committee, I guess, at Valley. Are you all by yourself? You do it by yourself?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, do you have help?
Sheila Roth helps.
Oh, Sheila, okay.
Come up here.
Sheila.
I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah. And what got you interested in doing speech?
Well, I did it when I was in school, and when, I don't know, when I was a theater major, and I came back, and this is about as close to my roots around here as, we can get. And it was a big part of school when I was in school. It was probably my favorite thing that I did, so I wanted some other kids to be able to have that opportunity. And well, I guess I started doing it at Valley because Sheila was like retiring, kind of, you can retire from a volunteer job. But she wanted to get out of it since her kids were going to be aging out of the league. So so I kind of assisted under her for a year, and then this is my second year doing it by myself.
That's great. That's wonderful to have volunteers.
Wow, they're so good. I have so much fun. I have a really great group, and it's really fun this year.
Yeah.
We have our next speech meet is this Saturday at St. Agnes in Bloomsdale, which is also nice because we don't have to drive 2 hours. And I know that, I don't know if this is okay, but I know Erin, the principal up there, Principal O'Driscoll's, is looking for help, like volunteers for timekeeping, especially like high school students who have done that before or who have been in speech and kind of know what that entails. Like I know she's shorthanded for timekeepers this weekend, so that would be super helpful if
That's
anyone wants to
fine.
jump forward.
That's fine.
Jump in and do that.
How many
Yeah, you can
children
add-
do you have?
We have 10 on the team right now. Yeah, I have 7 fifth graders and 3 eighth graders. And it goes from 5th to 8th grade. Anybody can be in there. But for some reason, we don't have any 6th and 7th. We have the 2 ends. So
Well,
maybe
that's
next year.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
What grade
Okay.
are these two in?
These are 5th graders. This is their first year doing this. I know.
Oh,
Doing a great job.
Yes. Do the children mostly think about going on into the theater after something like this, or is it just
All of them do.
just something extracurricular, you might say?
I think some of them do. I know some of them have plans to in the future. We had another duet. One of our 8th grade duet was on the radio this week, and I know one of them especially. He's planning on going into musical theater for college and everything. So that's super exciting. So I know it's going to be helpful for him, and he's probably does more. He knows more than I do at this point. He's really into it. So I don't know. It's just a variety. Some of them, I think I definitely have a couple that they were kind of like maybe their parents made them do it, but then hopefully it's worth it. So I don't mean you guys. They were saying
No, but they're two very, very good young men.
they have natural gifts. Don't
They
they?
do.
They're
Yes.
well suited. They make a good team.
Well, thank you. Thank
Oh,
you
you're
very
welcome.
much.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.
It feels like Saturday Night Live. I'm
You
like,
guys-
this is my 3rd time hosting here on What's New. Thanks for having
I
us.
don't think we're as cruel as sometimes. So did you bring one of the older ones to perform
I
tonight?
did not.
You
No, I
did
just brought the one duet
Okay.
tonight.
And I wanted to say too, that I went to the play Sunday, the high school play, and it was super wonderful. So
That's
you
not
do,
me.
I know, but you guys doing speech with these younger ones.
It kind of sets
Really,
them up for
yes,
that.
it
And hopefully
sets
it
them up
prepares
for it.
them a little bit for that, because
Right.
we do a lot of theater, like, not workshops, but
Well, like
just
Right.
training
this
and
evening,
stuff.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those kids were really, they were amazing.
They do
were
a great job
Really,
over
really
there.
good, yeah. That was very
These
nice.
two are good.
Yeah. So thank you very much for coming,
Yes.
Thank you.
and
Yes.
thank you for bringing them,
Oh,
or inviting
thanks for
them.
having us.
And thank you parents for supporting them. That's great.
Yes.
And anytime you have some more like this, you come back.
Okay.
Please.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
anytime is
Please,
fine. It
Get a
gets them-
hold of any one of us, please. and come
Oh,
back.
that's fun. Well, we'll be back next year then.
That's
Oh,
fine.
definitely,
great.
definitely. If you've got more this year,
Yeah.
fine.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay.
All
Thank you very
right.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
You guys are good.
We'll take care of those, Sarah. Yes, you go ahead.
Yes, we'll take care of
Okay.
it, dear.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Sarah, what have you got to say for yourself?
What would you like to know?
Well,
What is the
now you're putting
foundation?
us in a spot. Yes, it could-
Quiz the panel.
Yeah, and we don't usually do that. We usually let the person
Okay,
tell
well,
about whatever they want to, so.
my name is Sarah Menard, and I am the president of the Foundation for Restoration of St. Genevieve, which is kind of a mouthful of a name for an organization. In any other town, it is essentially the Historic Society.
Oh, really? I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Yeah, and any
I
other-
just call you the Restoration Society.
Yeah, it is. And the foundation was founded in 1967 by a group of businessmen and maybe some women, all names that you would recognize, and the purpose of which was to preserve the historic structures in town. You know, there were those businessmen and they owned shops downtown, and the doctors, the lawyers, and they recognized that without some encouragement, homeowners were not going to be able to keep their historic homes.
Right.
And the ones that were in, that is about the time that several homes ended up being tour homes. And so without some guidance, there was a possibility that some of those houses would be lost.
Right.
And sadly, some historic houses have been lost.
Now, Frankie Dunsey, was she one of the first?
Yeah, Frankie, and I don't know that she was a member, but
But she
she
was
and Lucille Bosler did as much for historic preservation, I think, as anybody in
I
town.
thought Frankie was the
You
first
know.
one to restore a house.
Well, that could be, I'm yeah.
not sure, but I'm thinking
That
so.
very well could be, and she owned several houses, and they were, some of them were tour houses, and, she just,
And Jack's kind of continuing.
yeah, yeah.
So, okay, you can talk now.
Okay. So the organization, it is a not-for-profit. We have 501c3 status. We do have a board, and I had to write down the board members because I will forget someone if I don't. So I can tell you, they are Janet Leonard, and actually she lives in Festus, but she is just a friend of St. Genevieve, and she's been a foundation member for a good long while, and she's on the board. Jack Ketting and Mickey Ketting are on the board. Lauren Moore, now she no longer lives in town, but she still has St. Genevieve roots. And the Bernier House, which is right up on Market Street, a little farther out, and it always had flags out.
Oh,
When-
yes.
But by your house, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they recently sold that house.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, yeah. So they don't,
That's the one that had the wood showing inside, right?
right, yes, yes. She is on the board. Frank Myers and his son Lawrence are both on the board. Jan Braun from the Inn St. John Beauvais. Brian Kraft, a teacher up at St. John, a history teacher. Joyce Grimminger and Roger Grimminger, retired teachers. Well, Roger's retired from Boeing, and at one time he was an industrial arts teacher, and Joyce is retired from Valley. Sandra Cabot.
So there's a big board.
There is a big board, yes. John Carroll, who, if you read today's Herald, he was recently inducted into the Missouri Parks and Recreation Hall of Fame.
Yes, he was.
Justly so, yeah. And Al Kaiser, people in town will recognize that name.
well.
He's on the board, and Romaine Holman,
Oh my gosh,
and myself.
Maine, too.
that's a
Yeah.
bunch of
Wow.
Yeah.
go-getters, too.
So it is a pretty big board. So the purpose of the foundation is to promote the preservation and restoration of historic structures, to save those structures, and historic culture. You know, we have things like La Guillonnais. Now, the foundation doesn't really have anything to do with that, but that is a 200-year-old tradition that needs to continue.
Right.
Yes, I
So,
agree.
so we promote it at least. I mean, we're not organizers of it, we don't really have anything to do with it, except we recognize its importance.
And it's great that the younger generation
Yes,
of
yes.
those, the ones that were in it first have taken it on.
Yes.
It's great, yeah.
And we also, and it was given, the foundation then has been the beneficiary of several bequests from deaths, and one of them is the Guybourg Valley House, which is the one right across from the Perry Center.
Right.
So that put us into the tourism business. Because we own that house, we have to have a part in promoting tourism, because we need paying customers.
Right.
We also own the Keel Swint House, which is that stone house on the corner of Second and Gabourey.
That's a neat house.
That is a neat building, yeah. And that is the foundation office.
Yeah.
And
Now, do they still let you rent out that room? The meeting room or
there
no?
is a conference room in there
Right.
that we use for our meeting room. And it is available, I don't know, I mean, yeah, we make it available. It is it's not really very large.
Right,
But
but
it's
it's nice.
perfect for some smaller meetings and,
We had it for something, didn't we?
We
in
had
Art
for
Guild?
Art
Yeah.
Guild
Yeah.
had,
I thought we did.
well, in
Yeah.
fact, Sarah's husband did a demonstration. He's a graphic artist.
yeah,
or-
yeah.
No, that's not what you call him, storybook artist. And he had the Art Guild there and showed us what he did, and had a bunch of stuff. That was really neat, yeah.
And in that same Keel Swint House, we house the Mecker Library, the Mecker Research Library, and we have a lot of information about St. Genevieve, Southeast Missouri, the founding of this and other towns. We have information about, a little bit about St. Mary and about New Bourbon, and we have lots of genealogical work. We have all the work that was done by Dick Okenfuss, and all the work that was done by Rob Beckerman. Now,
Oh, that's neat.
it is, some of that is, it needs some organization. If we're looking for volunteers, we'd love a volunteer librarian to come help down there. So some of that information, and some of it's coded, and I don't know how to read the codes necessarily.
Oh, okay.
So we have it, we
Well,
just don't.
Rob's was out at the library, wasn't it? at
Well, I
one
think it's in
time?
both places, yeah.
Oh, it's in both
Yeah.
places, okay.
Yeah, and
Because I know I
so
had to look up.
all the materials from all the local cemeteries, all that research, you know, we have books of every cemetery in the county,
Right.
yeah.
I'm an archivist from over
Yeah,
the Gold
so-
Duke Group.
Well, just step right across the street and help us, because we have stuff, I really don't, I've been working on the library for a couple of years.
About all I do is I've numbered items and filed them under the certain,
Yeah.
we had to set it all up on our own and everything.
Yeah,
Barb
so-
Fitzgerald is my,
Could you get
Yes.
somebody that's half-baked?
So we have boxes of stuff that needs, and we have empty
Yes.
file cabinets, so it needs to go.
Oh, it needs to
in
go
some
from
kind
the
of
box to the
organization
file
from here to
cabinet,
here.
huh?
And we have lots of old photographs.
Oh, really?
Some are identified and some are not,
Not.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's a shame even within families, but it's a shame that that isn't done while that generation is living.
Well, and anymore, everybody has new pictures on their cameras.
And yes, and there's not gonna be those pictures because eventually they're gonna be lost off of iCloud somehow or another. Or
yes.
Yeah,
they're-
One of these days, one of them clouds are gonna melt.
well, and the families are not gonna realize that all those pictures, where they're at, and they're not gonna go pick them up because somebody lost a password or whatever, so, yeah.
yeah.
Is
So,
there someone there at the office every day?
now, Jack Ketting is the foundation secretary, and he's there on Mondays and Thursdays.
Mickey used to be there a lot, didn't he?
Well, when she was foundation president, she
Oh,
was there
when
a
she was
lot.
president.
And
Yeah, I know
she's still
Jack.
there.
Yeah, I know Jack.
Yeah, the phone number down there is 883-9622.
9622.
Uh-huh, yeah. Yeah, there was a woman.
I would look, but I don't know if I'd be of any help, but I would
Oh,
love to.
I'm sure you would be help. Plus, it's interesting to look at.
Yes.
And the problem is when I get started, and I'll be looking at, and oh, this is pretty interesting, and I'll have to sit down and read the whole article, and
Yeah.
and then you don't get so much done. There was a woman that came into the library Monday, and she's working on her master's, and it has something to do with Bolducs. I don't know what exactly her subject is, but she was in the library for quite a while. We found some resources that she could use.
Right now, we're kind of a
Now,
mess.
Dick Okafusa's, did that just recently come to you?
Right,
or-
yes, yes,
Oh my, that's really wonderful.
yeah. And that's 2 file cabinets full.
Oh, my
Oh,
goodness.
my.
Yeah, it is
Oh,
just,
my.
it is a lifetime of work,
I bet.
a lifetime
I
of work,
bet.
yeah. And so the foundation was instrumental in, there was a grant awarded from Restoring America's Treasures that was used on the restoration of the Memorial Cemetery that, you know, is on the market. And
Right.
Yes, yes.
yeah, and so that cemetery is city property,
Mhm.
and the city maintains it. They mow it all year. They do the mowing, and they drag out the limbs that have fallen out of the trees. But the foundation, we still have money, and we spend between $12,000 and $15,000 a year restoring monuments. So, and, you know, you can't do them all at once.
Right.
Oh, no.
So every year, we go identify the ones most in need and do maybe about a half a dozen a year.
That's good, that's good.
Now, by restoring, you mean if they're broken, you,
And most
Put 'em
of,
back
what
together or-
what
or
happens, if the
cleaning?
ones that are flat to the ground,
oh, okay.
they are put up on they're put on a base. So a concrete base is poured under
Installed.
them.
Okay.
So they're about, I don't know, maybe 10 inches off the ground. And then if they're cracked, they're put back, corners are put back and things.
They have a habit of getting
Yeah.
that green hard stuff on them that you gotta scop
Right,
it off. too.
right.
Yeah.
And so, and that keeps the mowers from clipping the edges.
Right.
Makes it easier to maintain. And the ones that are upright some of them have been put back. And it's sort of jigsaw puzzle-ish
Right.
to figure out exactly how to put them back. But we've had really good luck working with Brewer Monument Company out there.
Oh, they're great. Yeah,
And
they're great.
they are so easy to work with, and they're so very careful, and we just are real pleased with the work that they've done.
Yeah, they're very nice people.
The foundation also, we have available, now, we have an educational research grant available. If anybody at a university is working on their thesis maybe on some subject that would pertain to St. Genevieve, we can award a research grant to them. I know Brian Kraft got one when he was working on his history thesis. A woman was writing hers and wrote about La Guillaume, not just in St. Genevieve, but other places. And she got, so there is a research grant available. Now, this is new, there is a scholarship, we haven't awarded any yet, but I think probably this year, scholarship available to a graduating senior that's going off to college to study history or archaeology or preservation.
Oh,
And so that's
good.
available to
Yeah.
anybody. We sent press releases to Hope School and to Valley and to St. Jan and to the homeschool group. If there are any young men or women that are going to go study history or preservation, there is a scholarship available for
Well,
that.
that's great.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah.
That's new this year. We do have a speakers bureau. And so there are several foundation members that will be guest speakers at, well, they've gone to schools and talked about the King's Ball or the Spirit Reunion, which is another event that we sponsor. So, and there's a variety of subjects. They talk about early St. Genevieve residents, or early buildings, or ordinances, or laws, or events, or just any
We'd love to have someone
clothing.
like that on here
clothing,
anytime.
you know. So there are several. Now, sadly, some of the speakers over the past few years have died. But we still do have a speakers bureau, and there are new people that,
Good. Yeah, we'd love to have, about the time Spirit Reunion, be nice to have somebody here.
And they always come,
Uh-huh.
every year, yeah, to talk about it.
Did we have them last year?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
sure
My
did.
memories about this
Yeah.
one.
And that's at the same time as the Rural Heritage.
Right.
Yeah. The foundation is also a sponsoring organization for the French Heritage Festival.
Right, and that's.
Which is not the Rural Heritage Festival. So the foundation is a sponsoring organization for the French Heritage Festival. So there's plenty for people to do, plenty for people to see. We always are in search of new members. Membership is cheap. For an individual, the dues are $25 a year.
I used to belong to that a long time ago.
And up to, we have business members, business sponsored. So there's always plenty for volunteers to do. I know one of the hard tasks that I find is getting the Gibor Valley Garden in
into
shape. Because it's bigger than you would think too. There's pretty
Yeah,
much
they got a lot of beds there.
pretty much garden back there. Yes,
They do.
Yes. And as a gardener, it's an never-ending task.
Right.
You get rid of weeds and they come right back.
Yeah, they don't stay away.
No.
And
So
they-
we're always
yeah.
in search of volunteer gardeners.
And I think the Art Guild has painted there several times.
I think.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the Keyboard Valley House it's a really neat
And
treasure.
weddings, they have weddings there too.
Well, we didn't have any last year, but it is available.
Yeah.
Okay, what
Now,
else?
what did they do with the house where Donna lived? Is that just empty now? The little
It
bit that
is.
she-
We call it the carriage house.
Yeah.
We affectionately call it that. Actually, the last residents that lived in that house were the Valleys, Anne
Right.
Marie and Jules.
Right.
And they built the brick wall around the property I think in the 1930s or 40s, maybe. And they also built the carriage house, which I think was a garage. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then it was an apartment, there was an apartment above it,
Right.
yeah. But it
That's
needs.
where Donna
And that's
Sharon,
where Donna Sharon had lived, but it needs some work now for anybody to inhabit it now, it needs new plumbing, new heating,
Oh,
new
okay.
air conditioning, it would need a little help before anybody could really live in it and be comfortable. I don't know, there are benefits to joining and not, we have several events a year. We have at least a couple of events where we have speakers at the spring meeting, and I can tell you who the speaker is going to be. And he hasn't done this before, but I know for a fact he's very good at it, and that is Mike Skipweiler.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes.
okay.
And he has spent a lot of his free time studying St. Genevieve history, specifically the genealogy and the activities of the Leclerc family. Now, Francois Valley was not really very literate. So he had to have a trusted secretary, and that was a man named Leclerc. So Skip Weiler, Mike Weiler traces his ancestry backwards through that.
Well, isn't that neat?
Isn't that
Yeah.
something?
Yeah. And so he's going to be the speaker at the spring meeting. And he is good at it. He was not even really reluctant. He said, well, let me think about it. I think maybe I can do it. So we don't yet have a time or a place. That will be in April sometime. And we haven't worked out the details of the spring meeting. But we've had several demonstrations. The last one, last year, Deb Cameron and people in town would know her, she is a spinner.
Yes.
And she
does.
sits sometimes down at,
Yes.
on the corner of Market and, Main and Merchant.
Mhm.
But she talked about indigo and showed how to dye things with indigo. Well, it was very interesting, and I didn't have a clue.
Uh-huh, no.
I don't know. So, we do try to have a couple of interesting programs every year, and we have a pretty snazzy Christmas party then in December.
Where do you hold the Christmas party?
It has been the past few years it's been at the Audubon. You know, people,
Yeah, that'd be snazzy.
well, and people like it, and it's easy access,
Oh,
and
yeah.
ample
They're wonderful.
parking.
Oh,
and
and the food
yeah,
is,
and the food is good, yeah.
the wine's not bad, too.
I've heard that.
So I've been told. So,
So, that's
what else do you have
very
down on that? I
interesting.
got a lot of writing on those pages.
Well, I know, it's mostly just kind of notes. The foundation, when the foundation started, we were, I think, instrumental, I think, in encouraging the city to have an ordinance about historic preservation. And every town has to have building ordinances.
Yes.
And but because we have such unique structures, it takes a special kind of ordinance about what you can and cannot do to the outsides of historic
Go
properties.
round and
I
round
know.
on that sometimes.
Yes.
They told me what I could put on the house, what I couldn't get.
And you know, an organization like the foundation really has to partner with other entities in town. We have to partner with the city, we have to work closely with them, and the schools. You know, we provide speakers, and if we're gonna promote St. Genevieve history, you have to start teaching it young.
Right.
And we have partnered with other organizations to pull off some of the festivals in town. And the foundation was one of the organizations that was really instrumental early on, 20 years ago at least, well, probably more, in getting the Department of the Interior to look at St. Genevieve and say, yes, these structures are worthy of mention on the National Register of Historic Places.
Right.
And that, of course, ultimately led to the National Park Service saying, yeah, you should be a national park, which I think is huge.
And is it true that St. Genevieve has the most colonial houses anywhere in America?
How'd you read my mind? That's what I was going to ask her.
And it is true. And, you know, and more of them, we have more vertical log houses.
And
But
isn't
we do
there
have
like
most.
almost 20-something they found?
I think there are over 50.
Oh,
There are
really?
many
That
that, and the thing
And
is,
they're covered over.
they're covered over, and there certainly are more that are private residences that families live in
Right.
than are public tour houses. And from the outside, you can sometimes hardly tell.
Right.
And let me tell you this story. First of all, there are two kinds of those vertical log houses. Some of them are built on a sill. Most of them in St. Genevieve are built on a sill. But the Amaro and the Green Tree, the Bolduc, those are poteau en terre, so the logs go all the way into the
Down.
ground. And as far as I know, there are very few of those in North America. There's one I know identified in Mississippi, one in Louisiana. There are 3 here, and not anywhere else.
I read somewhere that, yes, up east, they have a lot of historical stuff, but our town, these houses were built here as they are now.
Uh-huh,
You understand what I mean? And
exactly.
Up there, they took the plans and rebuilt houses.
Yeah,
But
they just
here,
had the
these are the
foundation.
original, the original logs, the original everything right here.
And when you think about it, that the Green Tree Tavern was there and standing long before George Washington ever thought about being
Yeah,
president.
isn't that amazing?
It is
I
pretty
liked it
amazing.
better the other way, though. It was so much prettier. It looked like a southern, when it was white.
When it was white, yeah.
When they,
But I was gonna tell you the story. So
Oh, okay.
when I moved to town in 1974, and I came to town to teach school, and I wasn't particularly interested in history. I was an English teacher. And there were not many places to rent in St. Genevieve. So I was young and out of school, and I thought, well, I guess I'll just have to buy a house. So I did. I bought a little house over on Ziegler Street. And my father said, well, you know, you can't live in any house if I haven't wired it, because electricity is horrible unless it's done right. And I said, okay, Dad, have at it. And he came down and started working on the house and said, what is going on? I can't drill a hole. It was a vertical log. I had no idea.
Oh, my goodness.
I had no idea. I had no idea. And he said, well, this is a whole different kind of chore to figure out how to rewire this house and not have the wires show. But he did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now Ziegler,
Down by the bridge on Main Street.
oh, okay, they're fixing the house up now.
Yes, yes. It
It used
was,
to be, when I was a kid, it belonged to, I love something or another. Lachomp? They were from out of town, they had moved in there, but they had girls, and we used to play, had a store in their basement. I don't know why our mom let us drag all that stuff in there, but we had cereal boxes and every kind of thing you could imagine. So we had a regular store down there, yes, I remember that. And then the flood
yeah.
kind of messed it up, yeah.
Well, during the flood of '93, the levee was leaning against it. But to the structure of that log house, it didn't make the house lean.
Wasn't that great, yeah.
Yeah, but, so that's just an example of, there are log houses all over town that people don't recognize as log houses because they're covered over with shingles or siding or clapboards or.
It's really wonderful to hear about it.
So that was pretty brave of you to buy a house when you were right out of
I
school. Of course, you
had,
would have had to pay rent.
I had no idea what I was doing. Well, and I thought I was gonna move to St. Genevieve for 2 or 3 years and then go to a real town and get a real job.
And you found out you love St. James.
So I found
like
it
we
just
all
sort of,
do.
it just
Yeah.
sort of gets in your blood.
I know.
You
Yes.
know, it gets into your
Yes.
soul, and there's something special about it.
It
and
is.
here I am.
I grew up here, and when I got out of high school, I thought, you know, I'm gonna go to St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
I went up there for 2 weeks. I was like, I don't want this kind of life. I want to go back home.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I did. That's why I've been here since
Well,
I was 9 years old. Yeah.
And
I
I've been here
moved over
since
here.
1960.
Well, I'm just the youngest one. I moved over here in 2012. And
And you don't want to move out. You like it
don't.
here.
I'm hoping I'll die here. And then my daughter and my son-in-law retired, and they're talking to me 5 or 6 years of finally getting the retirement. They're still young, and getting the retirement home built and stuff like that. And I said, I hope it takes longer. I don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does grow on you. You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
I always say that I think I'd have been dead by now where I lived. It was a good place, over toward south of Rolla, down that south, the 63 route. But this is just, I'd have never been on TV.
Well, and now you're a star, yeah.
Yeah, you're
Well,
right.
and we're excited about at the foundation about, of course, about the national parks. You know, getting that park established, and it
Does that encompass you also? Does that, what are the boundaries? I
No,
guess?
the boundaries of the park, and they've been in the paper a couple of times, and they really don't, not even the Kiel Schwint, not the foundation office. Now,
Oh, okay.
if they accept the properties from the Colonial Dames,
Then it'll throw
and
it up
then,
further.
and then they're trying, and this was in the paper, I'm sure it's not a secret, they were trying to
Yeah.
make a deal to purchase what used to be the bank building that
Right,
the, Colonial Dames turned into that interpretive center, their
right.
welcome center. So that makes them our neighbor.
Yeah.
That's an adjoining property, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know if they'd put all the way up in if that happens, or,
No, I think the property, I think that is by legislation. I think they,
Oh,
Yes.
okay, it is.
it
because I was
is, it
just
is
reading-
in the law. It's in the bill. It's written in.
What-
I think it's in the paper again today, something about it.
Does it include some of the homes, the national thing, park thing, does it include some of the homes here in St. Genevieve?
Well, if they accept, the Colonial Dames have offered them the Jean-Baptiste Valley House and the Le Malheur, the Bolduc and the Linden.
There's 5 of them,
Amy?
yeah.
And the, over in Gabourey, the Valley House on Gabourey. too.
Okay.
Little one, yes.
And if they accept that, and I think they will,
They have,
they have
I believe
accepted
they
that.
have, and I
Okay.
believe they've also legislated the money to buy the bank.
And I think that's
I think they have in Vance
Yeah.
Alford.
well, and I think the legislation was that the bank was too new. They couldn't acquire
Yeah, we
that
couldn't-
property.
Yeah, that was,
Because the original legislation was about historic properties,
Mhm.
yeah.
and, yeah. it was a-
Yeah, I think that was in the paper today, that they had to rewrite the bill. because of-
Mhm.
Because that's a good, because I know I was
Yeah.
out in, when my daughter was in the service, when Kathy was in the service out there on the south in Virginia,
Mary,
we went
I
to
can't hear
that,
you.
hmm?
I can't hear you, what are you talking?
Oh, you can't?
No.
I got them turned up so I can hear everybody, but I think I'm gonna have to talk louder. But it was, out there that they have those homes, they've got all that, they're old, and then you get on a tour in there, but the foundations was there. They're not, they're rebuilt the
They-
houses.
they've been
They're not
rebuilt.
like ours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we said
That
a
have
while
been
ago.
standing here for
Right.
so long. And I told him that, I told that girl. She looked at me, she
Was
said,
that in Savannah you're talking about?
no, I'm talking about, in Virginia,
Yeah,
Oh, Williamsburg.
yeah, that's, yeah.
Williamsburg.
mhm.
And
That's
that girl really
eastern.
looked at me, she said, oh, we were the oldest. I said, no, you're not. I said, you're not the oldest.
The church in Williamsburg, I think is so interesting. Have you been there?
I have not.
You have not. Well,
Oh,
in the
yeah.
church, on the pews, they have who had that pew.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then they also use the church for the courthouse, or for the legislative
Probably.
Yeah, I
place.
think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
used
Yeah,
to.
it was
years ago.
really interesting. And I mean, the pews, I don't know if they're old. I mean, they look old,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they are or not. But I thought that was really interesting, because you could go through and find your ancestor's name in there. Yeah. That's neat. And then down in Kentucky, I think I've said this before, we went down to, where Robert Merton, Tom Merton, in Bardstown, Kentucky. And they have, that's where a lot of the people came in to the United States that came up, that are around here, to Perryville and to
Uh-huh.
St. Genevieve. They came from Bardstown, up the river, up the rivers.
Up the
yeah.
rivers. yes.
Rivers, yeah.
Is there-
And I thought it was really interesting there, because they have a quilt with all the names of the first people that arrived there, hanging from the ceiling down the stairs where you can read the names.
It has to be a long quilt.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's got all the names on it. The very first people that settled in Bardstown. Yeah, that was really neat too. So there's a lot of really old towns in the United States. Yeah.
But we have the most homes.
Yes,
And we are
Yes.
the oldest place too.
Yes, yes.
yes.
Very
And the
nice
fact
town.
that the national parks will end up owning those properties guarantees that they will be maintained and preserved.
Right, that's a great thing.
That's a good thing, you know, just from my work with the foundation and what it takes to maintain the Gibor Valley House. And property owners know, if you have a new house or an old house, it takes a pretty big piece of change.
It
to-
takes a lot to keep it alive.
It takes a lot to keep them
And
going.
the money that
It
has
does,
already
yeah.
gone into the houses too. I mean, but. it's
Well, you
worth
have
it.
to do that in any house you own.
Yes.
I mean, it's just, when you own a home,
Now,
it's an expense.
and I have read this and heard this, there are 2 tour homes in the United States that make money.
Oh, my goodness.
Really?
Yes, one of them is Graceland,
Oh,
Well, yeah,
of
that
course.
would.
And the other.
They had a pretty good guy there, that's
Yeah,
why.
and the other is the Vanderbilt Estate, built,
Oh, that.
the
really?
Biltmore. And those are the only two tour homes that,
That make
Really
that
money.
make money.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, so maintaining any of the houses in town, whether they're tour houses or not.
I don't see how that Vanderbilt has enough funds to do that. I mean, it's expensive to go there, but all the gardens they have, oh, my word.
Oh, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
my word.
They may have volunteers there too, you know.
They do have volunteers there,
Thank
but
God we
it
have a
still
lot of them
takes
here
a
in
lot
town.
of, I don't remember how many employees are there, I read one time.
I don't recall.
Yeah,
yeah.
Unreal.
This has been interesting, very interesting. It has.
Do we know anything else you want to share with everybody?
Well, I don't know.
Anything coming up, or?
I can't think of anything special we have coming up. Well, we have the April meeting coming up, and we're always in search of new members and ideas for meetings and new volunteers. We always have a lot of volunteer work to do. Usually, well, the Gilbert House will open April 1st.
And you
So-
have young people that tell the story yet, or have they gone to older?
We
Like the
have,
high school used to do.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have adult paid docents that give the tour. But we'll have a couple of cleanup days before that we encourage members or anybody else that wants to come and help clean up the garden and dust in the house. You know, a house that sits vacant all winter gets
You think they get dirty?
dusty. They get a little dusty.
And that house is supposed to be haunted too, isn't it?
Oh, they're all haunted.
Well, I think they're all haunted. I don't know.
We used to, you know, we had our offices in the Linden House
Yeah.
for a long time, upstairs on that second floor. Had me a little ghosty would come around.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
I could smell, there was an odor that would come, a musty odor, every time I showed up there, and it would just encircle me. And after a while, it would just go away, or I'd say, I've had enough of that, just go away. Thanks for greeting me, you know. It would just go away.
Well, the story of Jacques Guibord is kind of interesting, you know, that he built a house in 1806.
Uh-huh.
But he was from France and the story is he went to the islands, he went to Haiti, Saint-Domingue, as the secretary to a plantation owner. But then when there was a political uprising and things were unsettled, that his servant, his man, Moros, put him in a wine barrel and knocked the lid onto it, and they smuggled both of them onto a ship, and so they left the island. Now,
Oh, my goodness.
and he went back to France, and then came to here, and ultimately then some of his sons went to France and stayed. So you had a Frenchman that came to America and became an American, and then the family went back and became a French family again. So there are probably Guibords that we have not been able to track down, that we don't know where they are.
Uh-huh.
That's amazing.
Yes.
It is, and there are Guibords that have come from France to tour the house. But Jacques Guibord had some sons that went west that we don't necessarily know exactly what happened to them.
Mhm.
And there were Guibords in St. Louis. There had to be some connection.
They probably went up there for jobs when they built the riverfront. I mean, when the riverfront was. Because I think, wasn't St. Charles out in there before the riverfront? On the Missouri River?
Well,
Or was that about the same time?
I don't really know. I'm not gonna. I
I'm
don't.
not going to commit on that.
I'm not gonna
I
commit
really
on that.
wish we had more of a,
Well, Father
Nice.
Witt wrote a book.
Oh, yes, yes.
I would like to read that book because somebody said he.
Well, we
said-
have it in the Mecker Library.
Do you
Just-
really?
Just
Okay.
come right on down.
He said it was that St. Louis is older than St. Genevieve, I heard. Did you read it?
No, I've read it. No, he
He
doesn't.
didn't
really
say
make
that. Oh, somebody
You
said
know,
that.
no.
That was in there, yeah. that it was settled before St. Genevieve was, or something.
No, I think he's.
I think it was a big city before St.
It
Genevieve,
was a-
because
it
St.
was a,
Genevieve
uh,
never was a big city. but
Right.
back
And
then-
it was the seat of the diocese, you know, they were a cathedral, and we never
Right.
were. But, no, it's right, but we do have that book, just come on down and I'll loan
Okay,
it to you.
I will. Yeah, one of these days. I don't like to read, so. I like to read those short magazine stories that go fast. I'm a speedy person.
I
I
get
have-
involved in reading and I sit and read all,
Do
I can
you?
read all day.
I have 2 books started, that I'm only halfway through both of them, and I bet I've been doing it for a month.
Oh,
Then I gotta read back a page to figure out what.
I read
I
2
sit-
books over the weekend.
I sit and watch television and read a book. TV gets around, I'm like that. I'll be reading my book. Something will come on I'll be interested in, I'll sit. and
You're
watch
like my
TV.
husband, he could watch 5 programs at once, and I was like, will you just stop? I can't keep track of any of them. My brain don't do that.
So, the house is, it has been closed. You will be reopening, you have a date,
April 1st,
April 1st.
which I think is a Monday.
I think it is.
I think it's a Monday, yeah.
I got right quick here.
Yes, it is.
Now, the other houses
Yes.
April Fool's Day.
It's a
on
Monday.
Main Street, the Bolduc house, that one's still gonna be open for tours and stuff?
Oh,
They
yeah,
all are.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they,
They're
yeah,
all- Yeah,
yeah.
but
and
they're
the-
open
and then the-
now.
And they're open now.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
And the state owns the Felix Valley House, which is across from the post office,
right,
stone house on the corner there. The state owns that, and
and the Mammy Shaw.
yes,
Yeah, Main
yes,
Street.
and those are open.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
all the.
No, I meant the ones on Main Street.
Oh,
yeah.
our houses are
That
open. We
the,
have,
French, whatever it is, America. What it?
New France.
New France, yeah.
There's a deal about the name.
Because they're making a, do you know about all that, or do you know about that? What
What's
they're
that?
making, the educational?
Well, in the
Thing.
Linden House, they're going to have like hands-on history.
She's had
Yeah,
school.
I saw
At the-
that
At the
on,
Linden House.
yeah,
where
I saw
Yes,
that
and-
in the paper.
I think maybe activities for children and maybe
She
some
has
stuff
had,
for
see,
adults.
she's had
And-
activities there for children all for the last couple, 3 years. They've gone and,
Yeah, but
kind of
it
thing.
wasn't like it is now.
no, they.
Because they
now
have
it's-
costumes in there and toys, and
Since they
I
moved
think it
us
was on
out, see,
Facebook. I was reading it on Facebook.
they moved us and the gift shop
Yeah,
out
right.
and set up the rest of, it's going to be for education, yes.
When I would think little kids would think that's fun if they get to dress up.
Yeah, there was a little girl playing with it.
If
She
they
had
get
a
to play dress up.
costume on, and then she was reaching up on the shelf for the toys. I think that was on Facebook this evening.
We,
If it wasn't in the newspaper,
No.
someplace I saw it.
we got we have a lot of the older toys and things, and we got some new ones in today, and Cornhusk dolls to make, the kits, and then
Oh,
they have
okay.
another.
Oh, you mean for
little-
activities
Wow.
for these kids?
Well, no, these are to sell, they have them in the gift shop, anybody can get them and
Oh.
do them. And so I'm going to see what I can do with them, I love to do things like that.
Well, that was interesting, everything you had to
If
say.
if we could all go back to 1790 or
Just to see what it was
1800
like to live
Yeah.
there.
in St. Genevieve, and I think we'd be surprised. I think there was,
They had more fun than we have. They weren't stressed.
they were not stressed, but I think there was hustle and bustle. I think there was commerce going on, and there were stores and people doing business. And, I know Jacques Bourg was a trader and a merchant, and he owned lead mines.
And can you imagine how that was to get on a horse and go all the way over there to Pea Ridge and,
Well, exactly. Well, and his mines were over by Potosi, over by Old Mines.
yeah, Old Mines. And-
Yeah.
Yeah, we had an insurance salesman from Old Mines, and he spoke, well, his grandmother spoke Pawpaw French. So he wrote me a story.
Really?
Yeah, well, he gave me a story that he wrote about that. He's passed away now. You might even know him, Bill Bowen.
Oh, yeah.
He sold insurance, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was a good friend when we were in high school even. Yeah, so when he was at the house one time, he said, I brought you something. And he gave me the story about Pawpaw French, his grandmother. It was really interesting. But anyway, to drive, I mean, to get on a horse and go, you had to stay all night somewhere. You know, because Mom said it when their sister lived in Fredericktown and they were in Perryville, that when they would visit her, they would load up the wagon, all the kids would get on it, and it would take them all day to get there. And then they'd make the trip back, and it'd take them all day to get back. And they only did that a couple times a year, you know, to
Right.
visit their daughter. I
Yeah.
mean, Grandma and Grandpa to visit their daughter. But I thought that was really, you know, something to be in a wagon as a kid for that long.
For all day.
Yeah, all day.
And the kids at that time would sit there and say, aren't we there yet?
But they might have stopped and let them play along the way, who knows?
It'd be interesting.
Because the farms were so fun back when they were small farmers. Yeah, we used to have so much fun down in my grandpa's farm, playing in the barn and then the fields in the corn. They'd pile the corn, things
Yeah.
up like that, and you crawl inside, get yelled at for
I was gonna say,
for
get yelled
spreading them
at.
open. Yeah, we get yelled at for making our little houses. We'd all go out there and everybody'd have a house. A lot of fun. Yeah, it would be very interesting to go back and see how they actually lived. I think there is one place, I can't remember which state it was. Dave and I were on vacation and we stopped, and it was 1790, I think. And they were doing the canning and making
Oh, wow.
doing all the stuff by hand, and they had chickens running around everywhere, and, I mean, it was like you were back in way back there. Yeah, it was really interesting.
where was
But
this?
I don't remember.
Oh,
My mind don't remember that
sounds like
stuff.
it was where I used to live.
It was really, really interesting, because I told Dave, I said, oh my gosh, look how hard these people have to work.
Yeah?
And we don't work that hard. I mean, to
You wonder
imagine canning all those cans of food, how long it took to do that.
Yeah.
And they canned everything. I mean, they had peppers and tomatoes and meat and,
Fruits.
What'd they put them in?
yeah, and their fruits. They had jars back, well, I don't know if they had glass. I mean, but they had glass jars
Yeah.
forever. But they used to do them in crocks.
And they had crockery
The
jars.
crockery.
Crock,
Yes.
that's
Say
what,
crock pots
yeah,
smell like
that's what
this.
my grandma, when we were kids, she had passed away already, but my aunt lived there, and she still used those, and they would seal them. And they
My
had
grandma-
meat canned and all that
Mhm.
stuff.
My
yeah,
grandma
they
used to
worked
try
hard.
to make sauerkraut every year. She'd put the crock pot out on this little side porch, you know, and us kids would be dipping in there every chance. So just about time it got a little bit sour, we'd start eating.
I can remember.
Grandma would get very unhappy.
Because I had my great-grandmother when I was up to 6 years old, when I lost her. But I
So was
did-
Farmington like that too? I mean, had a bunch of old
No, I
stuff?
was a city kid.
Oh, you were a
I
city
lived-
kid in
I lived
Farmington.
downtown.
Okay.
We didn't even have a garden.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
That's how we were too. My aunts that lived on the farms used to give us stuff, and Mom would can it, and I'd have to help her, but,
Yeah,
No,
that's
my
when
mother-
we
My
didn't
mom-
grow that stuff because we didn't have room. Our yard
Yeah.
wasn't big enough.
I lived right in St. Louis, so, but we did have, Grandma would try to crop some sauerkraut every year. Well,
Yeah, the times are changing, and they're
think we've
changing
about-
more and more all the time.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, so,
Sometimes I think we need to be able to go back.
just a
But
little
then
bit.
I don't want to have to bake bread and can.
Me neither.
I
Uh-uh.
probably want to have to do that.
I don't mind
No.
the baking of the bread, that's, but canning,
Well, Ally gave me a real easy recipe. It's flour, yeast, and water, I think.
and an egg, maybe a
No,
little sugar.
no eggs. It was, it makes, you have to,
Put
it's
some
an
kind of oil
ordeal
and
to make it, but it's so good. And it's got a really good flavor to it, yeah. You have to buy a special pot to cook it in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really good. But I only made it once because I ate the whole loaf.
Yeah.
So you don't do things like that.
We understand, Iris.
The first bite was
Yeah.
so good that you had to go down to the last one.
Exactly. Well, I didn't eat it all at once. I did
I
freeze some
know,
of
but
it,
you
but then you get in the freezer and you pull it out,
Yep.
so.
I know that feeling.
Okay, well, Sarah, thank you very much for coming.
Well, thanks-
And that was
thanks for
very
having me.
interesting,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
Anytime you got
Yes.
something going, you want to come back,
Well, okay.
just Mickey,
Please
you,
do.
or anybody, give us a call and.
Okay, well, the spirit reunion, you know, you like
Right.
to talk to people.
Yeah.
Do they come in costume? They should, yeah.
Mickey did, I think.
Yeah, Mickey
Didn't she?
usually
She was
does.
in costume.
I think
Yeah,
last year
she
we
was.
had, last year I think we had over 30 spirits in the cemetery.
Oh, that was great,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Al does it every year.
Right.
He is just,
My daughter-in-law from Illinois wants to come. Oh,
Time to pray.
she wants to come over for that. She said
How about
that to her just seems like it'd be so interesting.
It really is, and the only complaint we get is that people don't have enough time, they can't get to all the spirits to hear all the stories.
Oh, the
Yeah.
It's
stories.
like, well, just come back next year and hear some more.
That's right.
And does it get dark? Is that what?
It does get dark.
Yeah.
We hand out flashlights now,
Mm-hmm.
and the spirits all have a lantern on a crook by them.
well, yeah, all
So
their
you can
places, some of
find
them
them,
have a
but
little
it's
fire
still,
and stuff.
depending if there's not a lot of moonlight, it's dark
It's
in the
pretty
cemetery.
dark in there,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
She always thought that was so neat.
Well, okay, well, I guess we will tell everybody goodbye. And we will be back on April the 10th.
And thank you for
Sure will.
watching. We enjoy having you. Even
Yes.
though
Yeah.
we can't see you, you can see us, but we enjoy it.
And also, remember, you can call in anytime you want to. We'll have them put especially next week with we're having an animal show,
The next show, not next week,
the next show, yeah.
April 10th.
It's going to be everybody from representing animals
Excellent.
that's going to be on.
Interesting.
So that
Very
will be
good.
a very
Horseshoe
interesting
Valley.
show.
Okay.
And they'll do, I put in the newspaper that call-ins are welcome, because I know a lot of people have questions about their animals, yeah, so. We'll have Tom.
Dr. Cavens will be here, and Dr. Anheuser, Dr. Anheuser, Tracy Anheuser is a veterinarian, and Officer Barton from the Sheriff's Department, he will be here, and Dr. Cavens, and
So
Looking forward.
tune in and learn all about your animals.
Excellent.
you
And
learned
about the
your
shelters,
ancestors
yeah.
this week, huh?
And thank you all for watching.
Yeah. So good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Charlie.